And welcome back, traders. FX Techno back here with you live for our second part of our Charting 101 Week 3 class. Now, before the break, we were talking about these different indicators. We added a few indicators here to our charts. And now we are going to take these indicators, and I'm going to show you how we can make a system with these indicators. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to go to my systems window. And this is going to open up when I go into systems. Now from here, what I'm going to do is we're not going to choose a system to use because we want to make a new system. So to do so, what I'm going to do is click on System. And then I'm going to select the first option, which is New. So from here, I now have a blank systems window. This is where I'm going to come in and I'm going to make a system. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a name for this. Now I'm going to just call this one, it's going to be a very basic system. I'm going to call this Stochastics RSI U-turn. Looking for a U-turn, so I can get alarms when it U-turns. That's going to be my name of my system. We can call our systems whatever we want to title it. So from here, the next thing I'm going to do is we're going to start adding the indicators that we want to be part of the system. So we have a CDS-TK on our chart. We want to make that part of this. So I'm going to go to it and just double click, add it to the window above. From here, I'm going to go and add another indicator, which is going to be our moving average exponential. So I'm going to go on down a bit. There's my moving average exponential. I'm going to double click, add that to the window above. The next one is going to be the Stochastics RSI, just like we used on our chart here. So I'm going to add that above. Whoops. So now I have these three indicators here on my chart. So the next thing I want to do on here is I need to go and modify my moving average exponential. Before I had it at a size 70, I'm going to make it a little bit farther away from the candles here. So I'm going to edit this, take it from a 50 length, and I'm going to make this a length 100. And then I'm going to go to my Style tab, and I want to make this a little bit bigger than just a very thin line. So I'm going to put that at a size 4. Now I'm going to go and press Exit. I don't have to make any modifications to the other two indicators. So now that I've added these in, the next thing I'm going to do on here is I want to have some type of alarms going off. So what I'm going to do is the first thing I want to do is I want to use the red line that we have on our chart here, our moving average. I want to use that as a trend indicator. So if the market is below that red line, I only want to get sell symbols. If the market is above that red line, I only want to get buy symbols. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the first thing, the moving average exponential. And you'll notice when I select this, little options appear. I have a drop-down box, and I have all these check marks. Now because I want to use that as the trend indicator, I'm checking this box, Use as trend indicator. That way it's using the line as the trend. If the market's below it, that means the trend is trending bearish to the south. If the market is above it, that means it's trending bullish to the north. Now, I also want to go, now that I have that selected, I want to go over here to Stochastic RSI. Click on that. You'll notice that this changes. Now, this gives me an option for a trade type. So what I can do on here is I'm going to select overbought, oversold exit zone. That means whenever this U-turns and leaves either the overbought zone or U-turns and leaves the oversold zone, an alarm is going to go off. A buy symbol or a sell symbol. So now that I have that checked, I don't need to check anything else over here, but I do need to come on down to the bottom. And I have to check this box. Show trades on the charts. That's going to show the green arrows, the red arrows, and the black arrows. That's the buy symbols and the sell symbols. So I have that set up. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Save as New. It's going to ask me, are you sure you want to create this new system? Well, yes, I'm sure I want to create this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and press OK. And that system is now going to be in this list. Now going to be in my systems list. So I need to close that out. Now I'm going to remove these indicators off my chart, because if I had the same indicators on top of each other, they're going to cancel each other out, and then I'll just be looking at candles. So now let's go and add the system. We're going to go to Systems. We're going to find the name right there, Stochastic RSI, U-turn alarm. I'm going to right click on it and go down to Use. I'm going to close this window out. And look what I've just done. What I have just done here is I have made a very simple system using some basic indicators to give me pretty good entries. So if I'm doing something else on a chart and I'm looking at scalping the market on a 15-minute, I'm looking for U-turn entries, I can make this little system putting U-turns on my stochastic RSI, and it's only going to give me sell positions when the market is below my moving average. It's only going to give me buy positions when the market is above my moving average. You can see there, market went above it. It gave me a buy position. And then it gives us an exit position when this U turns the opposite direction. It's telling us to get out of that position. And this is a good thing to use on here, so that way when we get these alarms going off to buy or to sell, we don't have to constantly look at our charts to look, when is our RSI going to turn over? When is it going to U-turn? What we just did was we made a very basic system that does a pretty good job by looking at these alarms, using this in the direction of the trend. Now obviously sometimes when we have it coming in and out like this, it may not be so great to use. And it's when the market's kind of going back and forth. It's going to give these little false breakouts. That's why we have all these little alarms that took place. If I added this to a 1-hour chart, here it is on a 1-hour chart. And you can see when the market's kind of moving consolidation, it's not going to be good to use on this. It's not going to be a good system to use. But when it is trending, look at all these sell positions that I'm getting. Nice sell orders. When it's trending, when it's moving sideways like this did last week for a day or two, it's not going to be good because the market's going up and down, in and out. Now T16, you're saying, will you need to change the length for the moving average exponential when going to a larger time frame? Now we are on a larger time frame on here. I have this on a 1 hour. And as I move back, let's take a look. You can see here, because I'm using a moving average exponential, it does a pretty good job of staying above the candles when it's in a downtrend and below the candles when it's in an uptrend. Let me put this on a cleaner chart, because I have stuff all over the place. Let me go to a 4 hour. Let me go to a chart that I don't have much on. You know what? Let me go to this one, because I have 2 of these charts open. Now, as I go to this, systems, we're going to see that it's not per se adjusting to the time frame accordingly, but it is going to have the same parameters as far as our alarm settings go. You can see here on a 1 hour, it kind of sits in a little bit more, because it's kind of hugging the candles a little bit more. And this is a pound dollar. Well, you know what? The pound dollar is also not good because it was consolidating. Let me go back. Let me compress this and go back to when we have a nice trend. You can see here how it kind of stays right above my candles, acting like an automated trend line as it's trending. And I did not change the settings. Even on my 15-minute chart, it does a pretty good job. That's why we changed the settings for this system to a 100. We made our length value 100. 100 seems to be work pretty well, as it's really doing a good job here when the market's trending. You can see it does a pretty good job, pretty decent job. But remember, the system does not know. It does not know when the market is consolidating. It doesn't know when the market is consolidating, so it's going to give us bad signals when the market's kind of in and out. When it's kind of in and out of this, like it's doing here, look at all these little breakouts. It says to buy, then exit, then another buy, and then an exit. Little tiny trades all over the place, because it comes in and out of our trend indicator. Now, if I turned off the trend indicator on this system here, by going back in to edit this, watch what will happen. Watch what happens when I close this out. We'll get different indicators. We'll get different alarms. You'll see that we have a lot more alarms now, because every time this comes in and out of the overbought, oversold zone, it's going to give us an alarm. But typically we would only want to trade in the direction of the trend. So by using this indicator here as the trend indicator, that's going to give us much better indications of when we should buy and when we should sell. Now what I can also do on here is this. I can go into this system here, and let's say I wanted to make this a little scalp system. Let me go back to my 15-minute chart here. Go back to my dollar Canadian. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify this for a moment. And I'm going to go ahead and go into my system. And over here I'm going to go to options. And when I go to my options section, I'm going to put a limit order on this, profit protection. I'm going to tell this I want it to only go for, by ticks, which is a pip, for 20 pips at a time. Little short position, 20 pips at a time. And I want to put a stop loss order at a 1-to-1 at also 20 pips at a time. So stop is at 20, limit is at 20. I'm going to press OK. And I'm going to go to save as default. Then I'm going to press OK. And what I just did is I've just added stops and limits to the system. Now, if I backtest this system, it's not going to be the best system ever. I'll tell you that right now. But what we're looking at on here is we're making the system not to give us go ahead and buy here, go ahead and sell here, but to give us alarms, entries. When the market U-turns, then we can look to sell. When it's below, it gives us trend indications. Now, what I did on here to put a stop and limit on this system is I went into options and I told it if the market goes 20 pips in the opposite direction to stop, give me a stop loss order. And then I went to profit protection here and I said also buy ticks if it goes 20 pips in the opposite direction or goes 20 pips in my direction to hit the limit order. And that's by using the profit protection option. So what I've done on here, there's the sell order, there's an exit. And you're welcome, P.D. Fisher. There's a sell, there's a limit. There's a sell, in this case it's a stop loss order. We have over here a sell, over here a flat. Because if this says to sell, this leaves the zone, and then it comes into this zone, and this U-turns, it's going to give me an exit symbol. It's going to give me another symbol telling me to exit, which are going to be flat positions. So what I can do, and there's lots of things we can do to modify this and customize it to change it up. But what I wanted to do is show you just the basics of how we can make a system. Now that I made this system, there's all sorts of things I can go and do to this. I can go in here and I can change the alarm type. Let's say I want to add another stochastic RSI to this. But this time, on my stochastic RSI, I want to have a separate alarm on this when it enters the zone. So I have one alarm when it leaves the zone and one when it enters. Let's see what this does if I hit close. Watch our arrows. It changed. It changed our arrows. It gave us different symbols. Because now it's no longer giving me, look at how it changed my limits a little bit. Now I don't have to wait for it to U-turn back up to get an exit symbol. As soon as it enters the zone, it's telling me to get out of the position. Now, Sammy G, you're asking how to reach the options. The options of this system here, you go into the system, you left click on the system, and then options is over here on the right hand side. Now for our existing systems, the Turbo Trader, the Fiber Trader, and the Cable Trader, we cannot edit these systems. These systems are locked. But if you attend the Systems class, or the Swing Traders class, those systems are unlocked. And those, they allow us to modify those, make small changes. Small changes to a system can give us big results, big different results on our charts. Just a minute change can give us a completely different outcome. And you're welcome, Sammy G. And to answer your question, Calvin, yes, it is. It is recorded. So what I've done now, let me show you what I just did the last time here. I'm going to kind of keep this off to the side so you can see what I did. I added another stochastic RSI. If you have two indicators that are exactly the same on a chart, it cancels it out. That's why I can't see that anymore. So all I need to do is I can go in here and make one of these colors yellow. If I take blue and yellow and add them together, it's going to give us this color apparently. It's going to make my RSI black. So now I can see that again. I just changed the color of one of them. So now that I can see this. But now I need to see my overbought, oversold zone. So I'm going to go back into my other indicator that I changed. I'm going to go to overbought, oversold. I'm going to change the line to blue. So that way I can see that line again. Let me show you this here. Now I can see the line. It just changed. Blue and yellow, or blue and red, will equal green, according to this. So now I can see my indicator again. So what I've just done, by making a small change, is now when my stochastic RSI leaves the zone, U-turns and leaves the oversold zone, a sell symbol is going to come up. As soon as it enters into the opposite zone, an exit position is going to come up. So it's telling me to sell here, close out here, taking profit. In this case here, this little trade there was 14 pips profit. This is on a 15-minute chart. Now, obviously, if I use this on a larger time frame, I probably don't want to go for just 20 pips. If I want to go for much larger pips. But what we did is we just made a simple system. We use the stochastic RSI all the time. We talk about the velocity fuel gauge in our trader's checklist, and the turbo trader, and the trend scalper, our advanced classes such as the scalping course and the swing traders course. We use this velocity fuel gauge for other things, for entries. But it is a great indicator. And what I just did is I demonstrated how we can use this and put alarms on this by making our own system. You'll notice in my systems list when I pull this up, I probably have maybe 30 or 40 systems on here. And a lot of them, some of them are not great. Some of these I use for demonstration purposes. Others I use just trying to play around, researching and seeing what works, what doesn't work. Sometimes I'll just throw up, try to learn about new indicators, and see if I can make them do something specific on the chart that can be beneficial. So feel free to play around with that. That's why we have our systems class coming up, because we talk more about how you can create your own customized ones using a lot of the top indicators. And then we give out more additional systems in that class as well, which are able to be modified and edited. So what I demonstrated here today is how to make a very basic system using an indicator that we talk about every single day. We took the moving average exponential indicator. We added the CDSTK engulfing. The reason we added that was just to give us the green and red candles, giving us engulfing bearish candles and engulfing bullish candles. We added, initially we added one stochastic RSI, but I wanted to show you how we can modify that to bring our limits, our exits a little bit tighter. So I added a second one to give me an opposite alarm when it leaves or enters into that zone. Our main alarm, our trigger, is when it leaves the zone. That's when the U-turn has formed and our RSI has left the zone. I sent the other one on there to give me a symbol when it is no longer in this area, but it's getting into an opposite zone. So if it sells here, it's telling me to close here. If it says buy here, it's telling me to close here. That is what we can use this for. Now I could even go back, since we made this, and I can change it up again. I can tell my moving average not to be used as a trend indicator. That way I'm getting buy symbols and sell symbols every time I get a U-turn, regardless of the direction. Watch this. Let's see here. Didn't work that time. Let me go back here. And let me do this. Let me save this as a default. And to remove it and re-add it. And you know, for some reason it didn't want to do that for me. I'm not sure why it didn't do that. I'll have to take a look at that. But it's still giving me the same thing. Selling on U-turns. Limit for profit. Sell. Stop loss order. And that was sold right because this little U-turn happened right there. So that's how we can make a system. That's how we make our systems on here. And that is a very, very basic system. So at this point in time, do we have any questions on the Charting 101 Week 3 Systems and Indicators class?